I'm Jonathan Freeman of AHS-TV. Today I'm joined by Miss Judge to take a closer look at mental blockages. But before we get into it, our own Cameron Smith took to the halls of AHS to take a closer look.
Hello, I'm Cameron Smith of AHS-TV, and today we're taking a closer look at mental blockages. I took to the halls of AHS to see what the students had to say.
Who am I here with?
Isla Wagaman.
Ben Fennel.
Gabe Schreckengast.
Elijah.
Anderson Fabian, a senior here at AHS.
Graydon Sheasley.
Noah Dunn.
All right. What do mental blockages look like for you?
They kind of feel like my brain is made out of cement and I can't do anything at all, like paralysis.
A lot of procrastination, scrolling on my phone, not really wanting to do it, but knowing I have to do it.
Mental blockages, my brain just gets fogged up and, I just end up sitting on my phone too long and I don't do the things that I need to do and I just procrastinate a lot.
This. I'm having one right now. I can't think.
I think mental blockages for me at least happen when I become overwhelmed, all aspects of life, and it just leads to me losing productivity and not able to fulfill my tasks here, whether a student or at my house.
Usually just like getting distracted. Sometimes I'm on my phone or watching YouTube, something like that.
I just get distracted really easy, and I just I do a lot of biting on my nails and stuff, and I just get unfocused on whatever I'm doing.
How do you overcome these mental blockages?
You have to do a lot of weird things. I mean, it's different for everyone, but I like to take walks. I like to listen to music. I like to, for some reason, feeling different textures really helps me. Sometimes when I'm at home, I like to lay flat on the floor and starfish out and just let my brain be dumb for a few minutes until I can continue. But I'd say the main one is listening to music, and talking it out is really helpful. You just if you work through the idea, slowly new things will come about.
I just get off my butt and do it, When it needs done, it needs done, and it's simple as that.
To get my mind off things, I usually like to hang out with friends or, family sometimes, my girlfriend every once in a while. And, yeah, that's what.
Who are those friends?
You, Avery, Ben, Zach, and, all the rest of the boys. Yeah.
All right.
What I do is I have a planner, and I like to write out everything that is either causing me stress or causing the mental blockages, and then I see, okay, what can I do to solve these? What can I knock out? And then eventually, you can solve 90% of mental blockages writing them out. At least that's my strategy, though.
Usually I just throw on some music and I lock in, that kind of thing. What type of music? It kind of depends. When I'm trying to lock in, I like the Beatles or Bob Dylan or Kareem or something like that.
I just focus really in on what I'm doing and just block out all the noise and stuff around me and just try to overcome that and do my work.
And do these mental blockages revolve more around school or other types of things?
Well, I think everyone's brain, or at least mine, is all cylinders are firing at all times. School sucks a lot. I'm not going to say what it feels like, but mental blockages are just kind of like when your body is so overwhelmed by so many different opportunities of creativity, because when your brain is firing on all cylinders, there's so many different directions you can go, which can be a beautiful thing sometimes, but a lot of the time it just gets overwhelming and you need a break, and that's your brain's way of saying you need to pause for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Homework's what I procrastinate the most, but it needs done, and I do it.
How are those grades looking?
We're looking good. Chilling with a 3.5 right now.
Yeah, definitely. In the summertime, I don't really have too many. And then when school starts back up, yeah, lot to deal around schoolwork.
It could be anything, It could be music, practicing music. It could be sports. It could be talking to you. It could be everything.
Being interviewed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I think all of them, school sports, work, other extracurricular activities like baseball, I think they all play a role in these mental blockages. But when you're able to write them out and analyze every one of them and be like, okay, what can I do today, tomorrow, the next day? I mean, you can knock out a mental block just like that.
I mean, usually school, I don't really have a reason to be mentally blocked about anything else, so.
I think it can go with anything because, like, I say I do something, like, another day and I never get to it, and it takes me a couple weeks to get to it. But I think it just goes with everything.
Next, we join Jonathan Freeman for Johnny on the Spot.
Are we rolling? Hi, I'm Jonathan Freeman here at AHS, and this is Johnny on the Spot. Today, we'll not only be walking the halls here at AHS, but also a lesson on political cats, cancer, and the Olympics. First, I want to start off with Larry the Cat. Larry the Cat is a cat in Britain, and he is the chief meowser. That's right, the chief meowser. He has recently served for 15 years. He served under 6 prime ministers since February 15th, 2011. Now, Larry is the official rodent catcher in the British government, and his position is called the Chief Meowser to the Cabinet Office. Although it sounds like a restricted job with him catching rodents, he also does some luxurious sleeping. That's right, that's an official position on the website. He sleeps for a living. Now, unlike, other political guests we have, just doing whatever, he roams freely, roams the streets, and he even poses for the camera. What a guy. Now on to something more serious. Most people know pancreatic cancer is one of the most leading causes of fatality. It has a rate around 12% for survival. Now, a Spanish research team, Spain's National Cancer Research Center used a triple drug therapy in rats, and it cured the cancer and led to no reoccurrences and minimum side effects. It's a really big breakthrough for cancer in general. As soon as they get human testing approved, this could be very promising. On to something everyone's been talking about, the Olympics. The Olympics happened in February from the 6th to the 22nd. It was a worldwide event, including sports like alpine skiing, bobsledding, freestyle snowboarding, figure skating, and everyone's personal favorite, lunge. The luge, or however you say it, I'm sorry. The Winter Olympic Games took place across 17 days. The competition, which brought together athletes from around the world, was to test their limits. It's a competition, of course. On to that. Seeing it's a competition, you compete for medals. Approximately 93 countries competed. Norway had 18 gold medals, 12 silvers, and 11 bronze medals. That's 41 from events won. They won 37 medals in snow-related events. What was that? That leads to 4 medals. U.S. had 12 gold medals, 12 silver medals, and 9 bronze medals, and that's 33 medals from events won. That's 17 medals in women's events. Italy and Netherlands both had 30 medals from events won. Now, I'll bring on a little guest here. Tell me your personal favorite event.
My personal favorite event is probably the snowboarding.
Thank you. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was Johnny on the Spot. By me, Jonathan Freeman.
I got the opportunity to sit down with Mr. Dunmeyer to get his thoughts on the matter.
Who am I here with?
Mr. Dunmeyer?
What do mental blockages look like for you?
A mental blockage to me is when you are trying to remember something or you're trying to think about something and for whatever reason the answer just isn't coming to you.
How do you personally combat them?
It depends on the situation. I think there's a lot of ways this can happen. For me, a lot of times it happens if I'm trying to do too much at once, if I'm trying to think of too many things at once, or I'm trying to process too many things at once. So when that happens, I try to just slow down and simplify and just try to think of one clear thought to start. In public speaking, we teach for impromptu speaking 3 points. So rather than trying to think of everything that you want to say, just try to think of 2 or 3 specific points that you can talk about, and that helps to focus your mind.
Yeah, and how often do you see this between like students and your coworkers around the building?
I think it's a pretty common thing, just in general. I see it sometimes with students if they're speaking in class and maybe they lose their train of thought or something like that.
Would you say it's like harder, like, because some people, it's hard to tell and hard to like pinpoint with some students?
If they're having a mental blockage
Yeah.
or they're just not sure. Yeah, I would say it's maybe harder to identify in some situations than others, but I think it's a pretty common thing, you know. And like I said, I think there's a lot of ways that it can happen, but just in general, whether you're trying to remember a specific detail or fact or even a name that you know and for whatever reason in that moment you just can't remember, or if you're trying to verbalize something that's more complicated, the point is that you, for whatever reason, the answer escapes you in that moment, and I think it's pretty common.
How often do you hear mental blockages throughout conversations and media?
It's an interesting question. I don't know that I've really ever, I can't remember ever hearing it discussed in the media specifically. I'm sure I've seen something about it, but I can't recall.
And do you believe it should be spoken about more?
I mean, having this conversation, we're talking about how common it is, it probably wouldn't hurt to have more conversations about it.
All right, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, folks. Straight from the Hawks Peak.
This is your time to engage, create, follow your passion, show your spirit, go all out, or just kick back. Here in the Oak Grove at the heart of IUP, endless opportunities await. Where do you fit in? Wherever you want. This is your time. This is your place. Get in the Grove at IUP.
Thanks, Cameron. I'm now joined in the studio by Miss Judge to talk about mental blockages. Would you please tell us a little about yourself?
My name's Miss Judge. I teach English here at Armstrong High School. This is my third year teaching. I went to school here as well, so it's pretty cool to kind of be back where I went to school. I do the yearbook club here, and I also teach 10th grade cyber.
That's good. And how are you today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I actually woke up a little bit early today to get prepared for this.
Oh,
I was a little
good. So
nervous.
then you're ready to roll.
I'm ready to roll. Do you have anything planned for Valentine's Day?
Not really. I think probably just hanging out with some of my loved ones.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be spending time with my family, really.
Yeah.
Not much.
Well, that's always good. You can't get enough time with your family.
Yeah. So other than like English, you said you do yearbook?
I do, yes. I'm running the yearbook this year. I ran it last year as well. It's been going pretty well. We have a good group.
What time are those supposed to come out?
Usually around May. Our deadline's the end of March, so then they need time to print them and stuff as well.
Yeah. How could you relate mental blockages to what you teach here?
So a lot of times with English class, you have to do like written responses and stuff, right? And so writer's block is a very common mental block that students end up encountering and people in general. So that kind of happens pretty often in our classes.
Yeah, I find myself struggling quite a bit. I'm more of a logical person, but then whenever it comes to like creative writing, I really struggle and I always get those writer blocks.
Yeah, absolutely.
How important is the creativity aspect to it all?
I think it's pretty important. That way, you know, whenever we're going through and reading things, it's not the same exact response every single time, right? You want to add your own, you know, spice to it, your own sort of information. Make sure that, you know, you have fun with it too. You don't want to be pretty boring and write some cookie cutter response, right?
Right. How often do students suffer from like writer's blocks or just creative blocks in general?
Pretty often, I think. It depends on the student. Sometimes, you know, they're more inclined to write the more creative things like poetry and short stories where, like, you know, the logical responses where they'd have to do, like, you know, text answers, they're a little bit more, you know, of a struggle for them. And then vice versa, sometimes the people struggle more with the creative side as opposed to, like, the logical and informational side.
Would you say mental blockages revolve more around those creativity ones than the logical ones?
It depends on the student. Sometimes students are more, you know, science-minded, math-minded, so the logical responses make more sense. Sometimes they're more art-minded and things like that, so sometimes some of the creative side are a little bit easier.
Do you bring up these mental blockages to your students and let them know, like, it's a common thing to happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, if a student is struggling with what to write, usually they'll come up to me and talk to me about it. If they are having trouble, I kind of try to, you know, get them thinking about something else. Sometimes you have to present the information in a different way. Maybe you're more of a visual learner. Maybe you're more of like an auditory learner. Maybe you need to be more hands-on, things like that. So presenting the information in a different way sometimes helps. And then just kind of letting them know that they're not alone, right? Like we all struggle with mental blocks sometimes like that.
Yeah, usually I know I usually have the writer's block, and I just sit there. And I know it exists, obviously, but I just can't get around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the classroom environment affects the ability to have one, like a mental blockage?
I think it can, yeah, absolutely. Depending on the student or the person. If the room's, really colorful and bright, maybe you're, more inclined to think of some other things that remind you. Maybe the wall's blue, and you're like, oh, I, think of the sky when I look at blue or something like that. But, maybe if there's too much distraction, then it's kind of hard for you to focus on what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Do you think like having the color instead of just the white walls would help the creativity part?
It depends. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, but if, maybe it's decorated or maybe if it's not and it's like, specific posters to the classroom or something like that, it depends on the student, but that might be overwhelming or underwhelming.
Yeah, I just thought about it. I find myself just looking around the room whenever I just can't think of anything.
Yeah.
And I just read, and then all of a sudden I look back to my paper and I just have something.
Yeah, sometimes it can inspire some different ideas.
Do you think the deadlines like cause pressure, which causes those mental blockages?
I think it can, depending on the student. Some people work better under pressure. I think I prefer having like a deadline so that I kind of force myself to push past some of the mental blocks that I may have. Sometimes it's stressful for a student to not be able to have the time to think, so it depends on the situation.
Yeah, I think procrastinating on everything wouldn't really help, especially for me, because I feel like the pressure would be too much to build up on me.
Yeah.
How do you help students who fear their ideas might not be good enough?
I try to create a space in my classroom where students feel like they're able to talk to me at all times and that their opinions matter. So, just kind of reassuring them that they, have, good ideas and that they know what they're talking about is kind of the first step. And then just being respectful of other people in the room. So we have a lot of class discussions and, respecting the other ideas is the main goal.
Yeah, usually I struggle. I usually might go on like a tangent or word vomit.
Yeah.
Because I get scared that my idea is not good enough and I have to back it up.
I mean, it's always good to have evidence to support your claim, but you should trust yourself, be a little more confident.
How can students identify the mental blockages they're having?
It depends on the student. Sometimes if they kind of end up staring off into space or staring at their paper, you can kind of start to tell that maybe you're getting distracted or you're kind of hitting a wall. And then, getting up and moving around sometimes helps. Potentially, talking to somebody helps. Maybe talking to the teacher also could help as well.
Yeah. Why is it important to make sure you're not having anything that's clouding your judgment?
Well, if you do have an assignment that you're working on, or maybe you have something that you need to accomplish, hitting that mental wall probably isn't going to get you anywhere, right? It'll stall you. You'll be wasting your time. And it's kind of important to understand where you're at all times. So if you're struggling, put yourself in a situation to where it's good to push yourself past the struggle, but also maybe like understanding, what's going on while you're there, and then, kind of trying to overcome that in the future is a good idea as well.
Yeah, do you think it's possible to prevent them? Like, I find myself going into a writing, like knowing everything, but then all of a sudden I'm still getting them.
I don't know if it's possible to prevent them, but it might be possible to kind of know what's going to happen in advance, like to predict them a little bit, as opposed to just, completely, avoiding them at all costs. But there are definitely methods to cope with them as well.
What are the main classes you would see this in?
Depends on the person. So if you're more like science, math minded, then maybe you'll have more struggles in like English or art classes or vice versa. The creative side, if you're less likely to, want to be creative, you'd maybe excel in the more logical ones. So I guess it just depends on the person.
Yeah. Do you think school is the main reason we have these types of problems?
It definitely contributes to some of the mental blocks, but I don't know that it's the main issue. People, interact with conflict every day and have to make decisions and complete tasks every day. So I'm not entirely sure that it would be, the main reason, but it definitely does cause some mental blocks, like writing block and, creative artists sort of block us as well.
So you would say you have them?
Yeah, all the time, yeah. Everyone hits that wall sometimes where you're like, I don't know what to do. Maybe you need to like step away and come back, talk to somebody, something like that.
How do you identify and counter them?
I think just whenever I find myself either getting really distracted or like staring at my paper too long or staring at the screen too long, I kind of need to get up and move around. So that's kind of whenever I can tell that I need to, step away and come back.
And you think everyone handles this differently on how to like combat them?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone has different mechanisms of coping with things like that. I like to talk to other people if I can, step away for a minute and come back to it, whether that's like writing or painting or, creating assignments or anything. I find that going to a different environment helps. So sometimes I will take my work to a coffee shop with my sister and get my work done there, and that usually helps a little bit.
And how do people handle mental blockages if each is subjective to like each individual?
I think identifying what works best for you is the main goal at first. I'm going to, like I said, going to a different environment helps me. My sister kind of does better with that as well. Sometimes, some students need to move around, go out, get a drink and come back. Maybe, switch seats, something like that, or switch tasks and come back to it. That works. It just depends on each person.
Yeah, when, like, say you can't go to a coffee shop or anything, what's like the silliest way you would overcome one of these?
Music sometimes helps. So like distracting myself, putting on a song that I know all the words to, or maybe even just like classical music just to kind of fill the space. So I think that's probably my go-to, throw some music on and then distract myself for a little bit and come back to it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all for the segment of Best of the Nest. I'd like to thank Ms. Judge for joining me today to talk about mental blockages. I'm Jonathan Freeman of AHS-TV, and until next time, from our nest to yours, keep on soaring.